What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is Mark. I just got done watching Avatar: The Way of Water, which is the sequel to Avatar, which was the highest grossing film of all time. I wanted to come on here, give my review while it's still fresh in my brain. I was one of the first people to watch this movie. It just came out. And I wanted to come on here and make a video with as little spoilers as possible, giving you my detailed analysis and my honest review of the movie. Alright, so I gotta preface this video by letting you know any biases that I might have going into this, okay? So I'll just come out and admit it. The first Avatar movie, my favorite movie of all time, came out in 2009. I saw it in theaters more than once, probably three times in theaters maybe, and then I own it on DVD. The movie pretty much changed my life almost. Like, you hear about people talk about how they were depressed after watching it because it was so good that they wanted to live on Pandora. I was kind of like that. So just letting you know ahead of time, I was a huge fan of this movie. However, I don't think that I'm completely biased for it because James Cameron's kind of been pissing me off lately. First of all, waiting like 13 years to come out with this movie. It's kind of like, you know, dude, what are you doing? And secondly, I don't like how cocky he's been acting lately. I follow him. I do think that he's the best director of all time, but I'm real big on staying humble and stuff, and just some of the comments he's making lately about, oh, people pay double to see one of my movies. I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't like it when people act like that, you know, like with bodybuilding, with anything in their lives, like, oh, my physique's way better than all these guys. So that's one thing he's been doing to make me mad. He also made some comments saying, about men and like testosterone is a toxic thing and stuff, and I don't know, maybe I'll chalk that up to him wording it wrong. Like, obviously, you know, sometimes masculinity can be toxic, but all in all, I don't think there's anything wrong with being manly as long as you're still polite and respectable. So he's made some comments like that. So I'm going to go ahead and say that maybe I have a slight bias going into this movie, that, you know, I would like anything Avatar, but with James Cameron making me a little upset lately, it kind of lowers that. So I can kind of go into this movie as like normal critic, like in the middle as much as possible. So the first thing I want to get into here is the cast and the characters of this movie. You know, there was a lot of the people that they brought back from the first movie, which I liked. Zoe Saldana, I thought she was amazing as Neytiri. Sam Worthington, he does okay as Jake. He's a likable character. They added some new people. There was some children of theirs, and this isn't a spoiler because you've probably seen that in the previews that they have children. And, you know, their kids were they were relatable, you know, siblings, having fights growing up and things. So the children were all, you know, I didn't have a problem with any of that, the family unit. Edie Falco from The Sopranos, and I think she was on Nurse Jackie also. She was in this, and she's one of my favorite actresses, so I like her a lot. She was a great addition to this. I think, actually, she could have been used more in the film because it's kind of like in the second half, she wasn't in it much. And also, Kate Winslet was in this one. She's great, too. And the non-actor characters, there was some new animals in this one, which were different from the first one. So I really thought that was kind of cool how they incorporate different, you know, because it's the Way of Water, so they had different animals in the water. So all in all, I like the cast, and I thought that the characters were all pretty relatable. I know that they're Na'vi, so they're the blue people, so it's not, but it is kind of relatable to humans because, the structure, the family, that's something that we all relate to. So yeah, the characters were great. The cast was good, and but there was some characters that I would have liked to see more of. But I guess you can't put everybody in there as much as I would have liked. All right, now I want to talk about the story, and this is the part I'm going to be careful because I don't want to give it away, because I know most of you haven't seen it yet, because tonight was Thursday, so it was the first night that it was out. I guess it was coming out this weekend. They usually show it a couple times on Thursday before the big day of it coming out. So without going into too much detail about the story, it was heartwarming because of the family unit, which you saw in the previews where he says, our family is a fortress. So it was kind of nice how they had the family unit, they had different aspects of the characters' growth, and there were some good messages along the way as far as protecting the oceans. Made me think of we should protect the whales and not kill them. But all in all, the story was, I wouldn't say it was lacking in anything. I would just say it was not like anything new, anything that you haven't seen in a movie before. It was good, but I felt like, it wasn't that much different from the first movie. And I feel like, they had 13 years. They could have possibly made a more unique story, but all in all, the story was good. So the next thing that I want to talk about was the animation and the effects, and that part was just mind-blowing. It was pretty incredible. As you know, like the first one pretty much changed the game as far as the 3D movies, and this one was no different, and it was underwater too, so you have that aspect, not the whole movie, of course, but a lot of it was, dealing with water, so that makes it even harder to film, when the camera's under the water. So I can see why this was such an expensive movie to make. I believe they said it was, they need to have, it needs to pretty much make as much money as like the Avengers movie, the Endgame, to just to break even. So the amount of money, the CGI and everything that went into this movie, it was pretty mind-blowing. And as like a person who is into movies, who does acting and stuff, it was pretty incredible to see the advancements in technology that James Cameron comes up with. And so yeah, that part was probably why a lot of people will go to see this, for the visual, just, it was over 3 hours a movie, but that whole time it was just visually stimulating, and it was very pleasing to look at everything, and it does make you feel like you're there, makes you feel like you want to be there. So that was incredible. So some notable things that I liked about the movie, besides the animation, obviously, it does makes you think about your family, makes you think about, how much you love your family. Kind of made me want to like call my mom or something when I was watching it, because the family was really tight knit in this, and so I could see a lot of people like watching this and they'd be like, oh, I want to have kids now or something, because it showed that Jake and Neytiri were just the way they protected their children and things like that. I did like that about the movie. And so that's just an additional bonus from the things that I've mentioned already. Okay, so I don't want to be just a fanboy here, so I'm going to critique some things. I've already mentioned that the story could have been a little bit more unique, and but I thought it was still good. I'm just trying to be overly critical here. Some other things that I thought could have been different was the first one. This whole Na'vi language, they invented this language for the movie, and I thought that was cool. Kind of like how they do the Klingon with Star Wars and stuff. And I even, I'm a person who loves languages. I don't know if you can tell from my other videos. So I thought they could have expanded on the Na'vi language a little bit. They spoke English throughout most of this movie, which, you have to, because nobody wants to read subtitles the whole time. But they didn't really add on to I thought, with that 13 years, they would have developed even more words and stuff to the language that they would have used. And so that they didn't do much of that. And the other thing that I probably would have liked to see improved was the soundtrack during the movie. I felt was lacking a little bit. There wasn't really any not any unique music, nothing new really. Like the first one, they had that Leona Lewis song, I See You, and they had the melody playing throughout the movie. And this one kind of used that same music, and like when bad things would happen, the same kind of songs as the first one played. So I was kind of hoping that there would be a little bit different music that would come along with that. But that's just being overly critical. So my final thoughts on the movie, I would definitely recommend going to see it, even if it's just for the, the 3D portion. I would definitely recommend watching the movie in 3D. They have it available with the standard version where you don't wear the glasses, but I don't think that would get the full effect of the movie and what James Cameron's trying to portray. The movie is long. It was over 3 hours, probably 3 hours and 15 minutes, something like that. So it's a long movie, and there's a lot of water on the screen, so like that makes you have to pee. So you definitely want to go to the bathroom beforehand. And I'll tell you what, I brought a bottle in, and I peed in a bottle during the movie because I didn't want to. I was a fan, so I didn't want to get up and miss any of it. But it was pretty long. I don't know if it necessarily needed to be that long to get the whole story across. I think it did. It didn't really feel like it dragged on, but I wouldn't say it necessarily needed that amount of time. So I'd probably give it an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I would say I liked it just because I love Avatar a lot. I was a big fan of the first one. I think the first one was better. I didn't leave the theater the same way I left the theater with the first one, where I was like, the first one, I was probably thinking about the movie nonstop for the next several days. With this one, I enjoyed watching it. The other thing I mentioned, though, is like the length of the movie. I don't know if you could really like watch it over and over again. Like if a movie's like an hour and a half, that's cool. Like you don't have to like feel like you're investing half your day into watching the movie. But when a movie's like 3.5 hours, I mean, that's a long movie to watch. So you're gonna be like, if I own it on like a streaming service or something, I'd be like, well, do I really have time to watch this whole thing right now? Like obviously today I set aside this portion of my night because it was the first coming out. But I don't know if this is the kind of movie that you can really watch like over and over again just because of the length. I mean, but it was good, and I'll always be a fan of Avatar. I know he's got even more coming out, so I'm gonna watch those too. Just it probably didn't have the effect as the first one did, but it was still, I would recommend it. And I would tell everyone to go out and see it. And definitely they need you to go see it if they want to make money on this movie. Because when I was there, it really, I mean, it's Thursday, so people have to work tomorrow too. But it wasn't that many people in the theater like you would think for Avatar coming out. So I'm hoping that it does well. And, you know, Disney, I hope they keep expanding on the Animal Kingdom part, because I love that. I love the Avatar ride there, the Flight of Passage. If you haven't been to Disney World and done that, I would highly recommend it. So yeah, all in all, I'm glad I went to see it. And I wouldn't say I'm disappointed by it. I would say it probably met my expectations of what I thought it would. It just didn't exceed my expectations, which is still good because I had high expectations for it, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I'm still a huge Avatar fan. I still love all the characters. And thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe.